The end of World War II. Key moments leading to victory in Europe. VE Day. April 1945. The world stands on the brink of change. The Second World War has ravaged continents, but now the end is in sight. From the beaches of Normandy to the streets of Stalingrad, the tide of war has turned. The Allied forces advance with renewed determination, their sights set on the heart of the Nazi regime. These are the key moments that led to victory in Europe, a victory that would reshape the world forever. The Russians entered Berlin first. As Soviet forces advanced, the once mighty Nazi regime began to crumble. The Red Army's relentless push into the heart of Germany marked a pivotal moment in the war. Berlin, once a symbol of Nazi power, is now a besieged city, its streets littered with rubble, its citizens huddled in fear. The Red Army fights its way street by street, house by house, their progress marked by the thunder of artillery and the rattle of machine guns. The Nazi regime, built on a foundation of hate and delusion, is crumbling from within. In the depths of his bunker, Adolf Hitler, the architect of the war, faced his inevitable end. On April 30th, 1945, he took his own life, signaling the downfall of Nazi Germany. Encased in concrete and steel deep beneath the ruins of Berlin, Hitler's bunker becomes his tomb. The man who had once envisioned himself as the master of Europe now faces the consequences of his own twisted ideology. The Red Army is closing in, their guns now within earshot. In the final hours, Hitler makes the decision to end his own life rather than face capture and humiliation. Chapter 3. Just weeks before the war in Europe ended, tragedy struck the United States. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had led the nation through the Great Depression and most of World War II, died suddenly in April 1945. The burden of concluding the conflict fell to his successor, Harry S. Truman. Roosevelt, the man who had promised his people a New Deal and then led them to victory against fascism, would not live to see the final triumph. His successor, Harry S. Truman, a relatively unknown figure thrust onto the world stage, now faces the daunting task of steering America through the final days of the war and into the uncertain future. The world mourns the loss of a leader who had embodied hope and resilience in a time of unprecedented crisis. But even as they grieve, the Allied nations know that the fight must go on. Roosevelt's legacy, his unwavering belief in democracy, his commitment to international cooperation, will continue to guide them in the days and years to come. Chapter 4. In Italy, the fascist leader Benito Mussolini met his fate. On April 28, 1945, he was captured and executed by Italian partisans, marking the collapse of fascism in Italy. The demise of Mussolini is swift and brutal. Captured by Italian partisans, he is given a summary trial and executed alongside his mistress, Clara Petacci. Their bodies, strung up in a public square in Milan, become a symbol of the people's rage and their desire for vengeance. Mussolini's death marks the end of an era in Italy. The Italian people, weary of conflict and eager to rebuild their shattered nation, turn their backs on the past and embrace a new era of democracy. Chapter 5. Finally, on May 8, 1945, the world rejoiced as the war in Europe officially came to an end. Churchill led Britain in jubilant celebrations, and across the continent, people took to the streets to mark Victory in Europe Day. May 8, 1945, a date etched in history, a day for celebration, reflection, and remembrance. Across Europe, from the bombed-out ruins of London to the rubble-strewn streets of Berlin, a wave of jubilation erupts. The guns have fallen silent. The nightmare is over. Victory in Europe VE Day has arrived. In London, crowds throng Trafalgar Square, their cheers echoing through the streets. Prime Minister Winston Churchill, the indomitable bulldog who had rallied his nation in its darkest hour, addresses the jubilant masses. In Paris, the Arc de Triomphe is draped in the flags of the victorious Allies. While the war continued in the Pacific, the end of the conflict in Europe brought a sense of relief and hope for a new era of peace. The sacrifices of millions had not been in vain. The world that emerges from the ashes of World War II is forever changed. From the ashes of war rises a new determination to build a better world, a world free from the scourge of tyranny and oppression. The United Nations, formed in the aftermath of the conflict, stands as a testament to this collective desire for peace. The lessons learned, the sacrifices made, and the stories of courage and resilience will continue to inspire generations to come. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more historical documentaries.